Most insurers have hurdles in just obtaining or ingesting the data they need. Whether they're in different places, they're coming from different people, they're coming in different formats. So I think the real issue or the real hurdle to begin with is just getting that data into a format, into a place that they can actually look at it and interact with it. Of course, we have a number of different tools that allow people to do that in a more streamlined, efficient manner. But the reality is getting the data in the right way, in the right format from broker partners, from employer groups, from other systems is a constant hurdle. And more technology needs to be placed in that realm in order to make things go. Well, I think for an underwriter, the typical day in those data-driven decisions is really trying to understand or use their experience about what they're seeing in the data to make a meaningful outcome or a meaningful decision based on it. So I think a lot of it, start and stop this, right? Okay, so I think what it really looks like for an underwriter is them having to scroll through files and files of information. A lot of data that comes back from third-party systems or third-party analysis. And I think it really leans or requires the underwriter to have a strong history and experience and what that data is saying. So I think that's something where an underwriter is pivotal and key in this process. A human person is using that experience and looking at the data to be able to say, well, I've seen this before, or I have experience in what this is telling me. So I can use that experience, hopefully without a bias, which is also a whole nother issue. That underwriters encounter, whether they have the subconscious bias or a known bias towards it, but mostly subconscious, as to what it means and what it implies for the decisions they're trying to make. So I think it's a lot of analytical review of data, but also applying what they're seeing using some type of historical experience that they've had. Well, I think if you asked an underwriter, you would get a version of too much and too little. So I think some would say, I have too much, I don't need this much. I think others would say, in certain situations, I don't have enough. But I think, I don't think it's so much about the quantity of data, but it's the quality and how much do you trust the data. And I think that's the key, is that trust factor of it. So you can get employees filling out health applications. You can get the third-party risk scoring tools, but how much do you trust either of those avenues for collecting data? I think when you get the third-party risk scoring data, that initial risk score, morbidity score, however those organizations talk about it, there's not enough granularity to it for a lot of underwriters to completely 100% be confident in it. But that could be just their experience with it, their history with that type of data. Whereas MHQs or an employee telling you this is my history gives you maybe a little bit more confidence as to what it is. But really that confidence, I think, oftentimes presents itself as hey, if you didn't put this data into this application or provide this to us, we can decline a claim in future state by saying, well, you never even gave us a heads up that was happening within your health profile or situation. So I don't think it's too much or too little. I think it's accuracy and trust within the data receiving is going to be a constant need from underwriters and organizations moving forward. When it comes to the data problem, working with data manually or working in an Excel file with macros and lookup tables and going to a bunch of third-party places, think of it as swivel chair underwriting, which is a term that I just heard recently, which I think is accurate. Where a underwriter is moving from, an Excel file to a portal of some sort, whether it's a legacy or a third pulling that data in, there's a lot of opportunity for error. There's a lot of opportunity for not connecting the right data in the right place. So I think it is a workflow problem, but maybe even more granular than that is a connection problem. Is how easily absorbed and connected can that data be to the workflow? The data is there. The data is out there. One, you have to have a relationship, or you have to purchase that data. You have to have access to that data. And then how do you ingest it and how do you connect it? Those are workflow problems. Those are technical infrastructure concerns that companies have or should have when they're thinking about their workflows and their underwriting processes. Yeah, I think the thing we hear the most, and this is specific in the stop loss industry, is the claims files. And how is that data viewable? How is it absorbed by systems? Each carrier is a unique butterfly, and I will say that every day until I'm blue in the face, and they are. And so each one of those files can be completely different. Each TPA can have a different format or order things differently. So I think that's a big hurdle, specifically in the stop loss, or in large group underwriting, is getting that data file normalized and ingested into their workflow. So yeah, I think that's the hurdle, at least in the stop loss market or in the large group underwriting, where you're using experience and claims experience specifically to be able to understand what's currently going on in that group. I think there's still disconnection to some degree. And I think that's, from my perspective, sort of an educational disconnect or an experience disconnect, meaning tech teams, tech solutions like DataHub.Insure or internal tech teams really need to understand what the user is doing and what they're really trying to accomplish. Like, what are those steps? I think we see it in a number of our deployments of our technology. We want technology that's out of the box and ready to go, but the reality is that's not the reality. Everything needs to be configured specific to the needs of the client, specific to the needs of the underwriting team. And in order to do that, you really have to take the time and understand what and how the team is currently working, where the biggest hurdles are or the biggest time sucks out of their processes, what they like about the process, what they don't like about the process, what are their ideas for making things easier. And I think so that's important when tech is colliding or trying to influence the workflow or the work that is being done in the underwriting space, is really understanding what is happening before you can design or consult on what solutions could be. Yeah, well, I think if you're drowning in data, it would seem to me that you'd want to look at what data do you really need? What data is driving the results or the outcomes you're looking for, and try and get rid of everything else that is in the way. Yeah. And so that's one thing I think insurers need to focus on. Having a bunch of data for the sake of having data is not helpful to an underwriter. Having the right stuff in the right place at the right time is key. And you need to talk to your underwriters to understand what it is they need to do their job and what's just adding noise to their role. So I think that's, not seeing results, I think, is somewhat of well, you don't know that if the results are good or bad until, a year from now, from the year you write that business. So you're always going to have this hindsight's 2020 vision of what worked and what didn't work. But if it didn't work, then you need to zero in, obviously, on what you can find as the culprit in that, and focus on it. So I think, if there's understanding what data you need and understanding what data is most valuable to the way you're looking at risk and the way you're pricing risk is going to be key. Collating accurate data. Better workflows, I think. Dashboards are great from a management, from a retrospective, if you will. But I think if you have better workflows, your underwriting team and your operations team have a better sense of what's happening and where the problems or pain points are. Dashboards will tell you that, but can't do anything about it if they're telling you bad things. I think they want to be right. They want to be accurate. They want to not miss anything. I think maybe that's, if you ask the question again in one word, I don't think it can be one word. What should underwriters do? And it's be confident that the choices they've made and the assumptions they've made are data should help them be confident in what they're doing and what they see within the group and how they've priced or organized the plan back to the group.